Today I'm going to be working on a 2002 MR2 Spyder. For this video, we'll be doing the front suspension. The truth. I'm going to start by opening this long box. It should have my Swaybars inside. Alright, as you can see, what we got here is our set of white line Swaybars. It's going to be the front and the rear in this package. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the front, and that's the part number right there. If you wanted to get both front and rear Swaybars, this is the part number to use with white line. For this video's purposes, we're just going to be using the front Swaybar. And new coilovers. There they are. I got me a set of S3 coilovers, and I had them equipped with a set of Swift springs. I'm really liking the quality. You can adjust up top as well, which would be nice for the MR2. We can access the tops very easily. Let's go ahead and get to starting to put them on the car. These are the coilovers for the front. You can tell. Well, it's got a little front left sticker on there, but it's got a smaller bracket right here and another small bracket right here. One of them's for the brake line, the other one's for, I think it's a speed sensor that goes on there, but it does not have the larger bracket for the Swaybars because they hook up differently on the front. Now, it did come with a couple of adjustment wrenches, some stickers, and then the little dials to set our suspension. Go ahead, you're gonna want to pop the hood. Once it's open, we'll have access to the tops. First thing we're going to want to do is loosen up the lug nuts on both sides while it's still on the ground. That way, when we raise it up, it'll be easier to take them off and take the wheel off. Once it's safely up in the air, go ahead and take off our lug nuts and take the whole tire off. Now that our tire's off, I'm going to be going ahead and taking the bolt out that holds our brake line in. And I'm also going to be disconnecting this speed sensor line right here. After both of these are removed, next we're going to tackle these two bolts right here. They're both 19mm. I'm going to go ahead and use an impact on the nut side and just hold it steady with a wrench on the bolt side. And then you just pull your brake away, and now your shock is just holding on from the top side. Alright, next we're going to be taking off these three. They're all 12mm. I'm going to take off two, and then when I get to the third one, I'm going to put my hand underneath and be holding the shock as I take the third one out, or else it'll just fall straight down. And there you go, your shocks are now out. Here's a quick side-by-side with our old ones and our new ones. Now, something very important to do is make sure your two new coilovers are the exact same height. So I measured the length of the threads here, and it was almost 4 inches on both. So I'm going to keep them right there, but I made sure they were the exact same before I put them in. So now we're going to be taking off our Swaybar and end links. So on the bottom side of this end link right here, we've got a nut, if it'll focus. There goes, a nut. We're going to be taking it off. It is a 12mm down here. I'm just going to use my impact and just take it right off. Next, we're going to take off the top side of this end link. It's a 14mm wrench and a 4.5mm Allen socket. Now, for the Allen hole on these Swaybar end links, you can also use a 3/16 if you don't have a 4.5mm. With a lot of fighting, finally got the end link off the Swaybar. So now we can go ahead and take out these two bolts. There's going to be two on the other side. They're both 12mm. After those bolts are out, just going to remove the bracket. Just kind of pops right off. And I'm going to remove rubber boot as well, just so it makes the sway bar easier to take out when we go to pull it out. Now you're gonna wanna maneuver the sway bar out from the car. It's a little bit easier with 2 people, but it's not impossible with 1. You just gotta make sure that as you're pulling it out, it's not hitting any of the coolant lines or power steering lines or anything like that as it comes through. Now here's the white line front sway bar compared to the stock one. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but this one's definitely thicker than the stock one. And when I was getting it out of the packaging, it's a hell of a lot more dense than the stock one is as well. Now we're gonna maneuver our new sway bar in through the same hole that the old one was in, just to line it up the same way, and then we'll put our bushings on after we get the sway bar in place. And the white line kit also comes with new bushings. That's the part number for them if you need to order them just by themselves. Now that we've got our sway bar in place, kind of mock it up to, if it'll focus, kind of mock it up to where it'll be mounting. We're gonna next go ahead and grease the inside of these bushings with the provided grease from White Line. And then we're gonna be reusing the old brackets. Just gonna clean mine up, just gonna clean it out a little bit. And then we're gonna be mounting it onto the sway bar, right back to where it was. Now that I got both sides mounted up, I'm just leaving them loose for right now, but you wanna make sure that your sway bar is even on both sides. The other side, it's about at that same point where it mounts. I don't have too much on one side or the other, but I'm gonna leave it loose for the time being. That way I can attach my end links and attach it to the arms down here. These are the sway bar end links that I'm using for the front of the car. Now when I'm installing my end links, I'm gonna set it on the harder setting versus the softer setting, just because with the mid-engine, I'd rather have a little bit of understeer. This bolt hole right here will give you more understeer than this bolt hole will. So judge it how you like it. Now when setting up your end link, this part is gonna go into your sway bar, and this part's gonna go into that control arm. So you're gonna wanna stack the washer, and it's got a beveled end on this side to kind of cup the bushing. It is a bit tight to get it on, but you can press it down, and it's gonna go in to the arm, the lower arm. Then you gotta put a bushing, another one of these silver brackets, and then your nut on the end. You see that in just a second. I wanted to set this up before I stuck it in here because I already have the driver's side already together on the sway bar. So the sway bar is pretty stiff to move. So I stack it in, and then I'm gonna put this into the hole and just hand tight the nut on the back side over here until we get the bottom secured. Once you get the one on the bottom good and tight, we're gonna go ahead and tighten up this nut right here. Remember, it has the Allen key on the inside and then the 14mm nut on the outside. After you get this nut tight, we're gonna go ahead and tighten up our 2 bolts that hold on the sway bar bracket. I usually try and tighten them relatively evenly. I'll give this one a few turns, I'll give that one a few turns. I'm just gonna walk them in relatively evenly and then just go ahead and snug them up. All right, now we're ready to install our new coilovers. So when we raise them up, I wanna make sure that these alignment plates face like sideways in the car, not front to back, like driver side to passenger side. So when I raise it up, I want it to kind of look like that. Now when you're bringing it up into the wheel well, just kind of bring it at an angle and then go up. It's kind of hard to do it in one-handed. So I'm gonna put the camera on the tripod and you'll see what I'm doing. Now I just hand tighted these so far, and we'll snug them up here in just a minute, but you can see our alignment plate runs this way. And now down below, this is actually backwards, so we gotta turn it, have it face forwards because it's gonna mount this as well. This will go right inside there. Now I've got the jack ready, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna jack the bottom side, and I'm gonna guide it up so that this fits right inside the new coilover. It's kind of hard to do one-handed, but you're gonna have it rest right inside there, and then we're gonna align the bolts to run through. Remember, there's 2 of them, and they're both 19mm. Alright, once both of these are tight, we can go ahead and reinstall the line for our speed sensor, and then we're also going to install our brake line, which mounts right underneath here. Now, with these coilovers, they don't have a welded nut on top like the stock ones did. So what I'm going to have to do is get a nut and washer to put on top to hold it all together. So I had a set of M8 by 1.25 nuts. They do have the little bushing on the inside to kind of help hold it. And I found a random washer that'll work, but that will work together. Sorry for the sticker. That'll work together to hold our brake line on. Once these connections are good and tight, I like to go ahead and check my locking rings as well, just to make sure that nothing is going to adjust all by itself after we put the car on the ground. Don't forget to release your jack and get it out of the way as well, because next we're going to be putting the tires back on the car. Once you get both tires back on the car, you can safely lower it back to the ground and remove your jack stands, which you can kind of see mine still right there. Once you get to the point where the car tire is just touching, go ahead and tighten up all your lug nuts, or you can have somebody stand on the brakes and tighten them up that way too. After we're back down on the ground, I measured this gap. It's about half of what it used to be. It used to be close to 4 inches. It's now only down to 2. I may bring it down a little bit more. I'm gonna let the car settle first, take it around, driving around town a few times, and see what it looks like from there. Now it's got these nice little adjustment knobs. They basically just screw right on to the top of that bolt, and then you can make adjustments from there. So far what I did was I did it full soft, and then I increased it by 5, and I'll see how that is for me and go from there. I may make it softer, I may make it harder, just depends on how I like it. Now stay tuned. The next video, we're going to be doing the rear suspension. Well, I hope this video helps. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thank you. If you enjoyed any of the background music that's in any of these videos, check out the artist's SoundCloud. I put a link in the description.